Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the 143. This is Under Review coming at you live. Nick, how we doing?
Got another phenomenal episode for you. Another virtual one, keeping it consistent. One every week. We're not giving up.
I'm happy to announce that even though we are virtual, Under Review has officially relocated to the same city here in Dallas, Texas. Obviously, Nick came to Dallas a few months ago. I'm in Dallas now permanently, and we're rolling. We're hitting a new chapter in our Under Review life here, but episode 127, we haven't missed a week yet, Nick. I think we're doing pretty well.
No, I know we like to pride ourselves on coming out with one every single week, just pure consistency. That's just what we do here. Nothing but the best.
And we're hoping to at least do a few every now and then live together for good old time's sake. At some point, probably do a few of those. But happy to be back in the same vicinity and hoping to really start with booming this business here at Under Review. But as we like to begin all of our shows, we'll start us off with the stat of the week, brought to you by our sponsor, Andrews Logistics. Stat of the week is Justin Jefferson set the record for the highest paid non-QB contract in the NFL, signed his contract for $110 million guaranteed.
Just getting his bag, well-deserved. He's been one of, if not the best receiver over the last couple seasons. Battled some injuries here and there, but you cannot deny the talent.
Let me say $110 million guaranteed, and then $140 million total for 4 years. So he can make 140. He's getting 110, and that's the highest non-QB contract. Sorry, go ahead.
So with that, your player of the week, Justin Jefferson, just had to do it. It goes hand in hand. Last year, he caught 68 passes for 1,074 yards and 5 touchdowns. He has been a consistent 1,000-yard receiver. He's got 4 seasons in a row with at least 1,000 yards. He's been booming since he set foot into the league, took the league by storm.
He even missed like 5 or 6 games, maybe even more last season, still hit that 1,000-yard mark. Dude's a beast when he's on the field, and he's got a new QB in Sam Darnold, maybe even J.J. McCarthy if he gets to play. But the Vikings offense is looking good, and the biggest part of that is because of Justin Jefferson. I think they were smart to pay him what he wanted. But here's the issue, and we'll dive into it, what today's episode is about. The fact that Justin Jefferson signed that mega contract, $110 million guaranteed, basically resets the market for any non-QB skill position player. And right now, all eyes are on CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons as they're looking to sign new deals, because now the Cowboys waited too long to re-sign any of their guys, because now they've got these players, especially CeeDee, had about the same numbers, if not better, than Justin Jefferson last season. So CeeDee's got an argument, which I think is plausible. He should be paid the same, which I think is what him and his agent are saying now.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely the argument to be made there. I mean, I want to say this last year was his best season, or it was his best season because he set the record for Cowboys receivers. And yeah, obviously Cowboys doing Cowboys things, waiting way too late to pay their guys. So now they're going to have to give both of them the big bucks if they want them to stick around for a little bit.
So we're just in cap space, just a nightmare right now, because Dak still has to be paid, and he's looking for $60 million a year. But the Jared Goff deal being $55 million a year really hurt. If they had signed Dak before then, they could have saved money on the Dak contract. If they had signed CeeDee before Jettas, they could have saved money there. CeeDee deserves to be paid just as much as Jettas, if not a little bit more. Now, everyone is saying that Micah Parsons is going to be the next highest non-QB, and that's probably going to happen. But I'm going to come out here and say it. Nick, and I'm sure you agree with me. What has Micah Parsons done to deserve being the highest paid non QB in the league?
The thing is he's been just like every other Cowboy, and it's not showing up in the playoffs in the
Yeah,
spotlight. Um, I feel like I saw him on the sideline a lot last year, taking some
yeah.
breaks, taking some rest every now and then. That's just not what you would want to see from one of the highest, hoping to be
I
one of the highest paid players in the league.
I've at least seen CD Lamb like this offseason, even though he hasn't been reporting to camp and stuff because he's working out this contract negotiation thing. He's been in the lab, he's been in the weight room, looks great. Hopefully he plays this season. And if he does, he's going to be a beast again. I've seen Micah Parsons in Tokyo. I've seen Micah Parsons on his podcast. He's hanging out with his boy CJ Stroud, who, by the way, is putting in work. And the Houston Texans are looking scary. Micah Parsons seems to be doing everything but football right now. And that's fine and everything. But I don't understand why you're qualified at that point. Like, what have you done? Period. You haven't
A whole
won
lot of
Defensive
nothing.
Player of the Year. You haven't led the league in sacks after the end of the season. You haven't. I mean, you've made a couple Pro Bowls, but a Pro Bowl is a joke, as we've noticed recently. And obviously haven't helped us in the playoffs, which is kind of what you get paid to do. I think Dak's the same way. I don't understand. Dak's over here, $60 million. Buddy, what have you done lately that constitutes like you choked in the playoffs when we needed you most? But yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, obviously we've been. I don't want to say necessarily Dak haters, but we've been realists in that.
Yeah, I
In
like Dak. He's a good guy.
letting everyone know he's a good guy. Great regular season performer, but when
Good
it comes
quarterback.
down to
Good
it,
quarterback.
during the playoffs, he's a no-show. Obviously, his stats
feel
were a
like-
little bit skewed last
Yeah.
year in that Green Bay game because he was putting up numbers in the second half, but the game was over by that
Yeah.
point. So they had their JV in or whatever, their second string. And
Yep.
so, those numbers are going to be a little bit skewed. Another big quarterback activity or another big quarterback signing was Trevor Lawrence. And similar to Dak, we've been very
$55
skeptical.
million a year as well.
We've been skeptical of Trevor Lawrence on this podcast. Haven't really seen a whole lot from him that I like. They started off last season really, really hot, and then they stalled out. So he's played 2 half seasons really, really well.
The term that comes to mind when I think of the Trevor Lawrence contract signing would be highway robbery. Trevor Lawrence basically went in and robbed the Jags of $55 million a year because Trevor Lawrence has proven in crunch time he's not the QB you want out there on the field. And maybe he comes out the season and makes me eat my words. And you know what? I hope he does, but not really, because I haven't seen anything from Trevor Lawrence except for the fact that he was very well surrounded at Clemson and was a great quarterback there, but it's hard not to be when you've got a team like that around you. Went to the Jags. I mean, he hasn't performed awful, but he hasn't really led them to anything. And then last season, he really choked big time. I mean, they started, like Nick said, hot, and then he lost it. And it was because of him that they started losing those games. I mean, he couldn't throw down the field. That the stats back it up. He's not a down the field passer. He likes to dink and dunk, and he's got like Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne. He had Calvin Ridley last season. Like, he's got guys, Christian Kirk, that are like run after the catch type guys. And so that really helped him out. But I don't think he's proven anything. He got signed to a massive contract for the Jags. Like, obviously good for him. But so now you got Dak over here wanting more because he feels like he's proven more, which he really hasn't. And it's these huge NFL contracts that keep coming out are resetting the market every time. And so the next guy's going to want more.
It ruins it for us as Cowboys fans because we haven't paid anybody.
Yeah.
Like the guys that we desperately need, we have not paid them yet. So they're going to be expecting these types of big money contracts.
Right now, those three are the big three, the face of the Cowboys. It's Dak, CD, and Micah. I mean, that's how it is. And, you should have paid Micah before the Jettas contract. You should have paid CD before the Jettas contract. You should have paid Dak a while ago if you were going to pay him. Now, if you were not going to pay him, you should have released him and done something or traded him. I don't know. But At this point, we're just kind of sitting on it, and I don't know how long we're going to sit on it before we sign him. At some point, you got to eat the money and sign him or trade him or do something. You're just making him mad right now.
There was another iffy one. T. Higgins signed himself a 1-year contract. There was a lot of buzz around him, whether he would stick around, whether he would go somewhere else. But he is sticking it out in Cincinnati for 1 more year. He wants to run it back again with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I've always liked the offensive core that the Bengals have had. The Jamar Chase, the T. Higgins, the Joe Burrow. I like seeing them fully in action. I don't hate seeing the Bengals good. I mean, they're a team that's been awful my entire lifetime. I mean, that Super Bowl run they had a couple years ago was pretty electric. But I'd like to see Joe Burrow back to his regular old self and see the Bengals back on the uppity up.
Yeah, T. Higgins, the thing with T is he's not going to be there after this year, I don't think. He wants he deserves to be paid as a number 1 receiver. He's good enough. I think he's going to have to go somewhere else to get it, though, because they're going to pay Jamar Chase the money, which is rightly so. Like, Jamar Chase is a stud, but they have – the unfortunate thing with the Bengals is you can't have 2 number 1 receivers for very long before you have to pay them. So they've been on their rookie deals, and now it's kind of time to pay. And T is going to stay for another year, prove that he can be a bona fide one, and he's going to go somewhere else and get the money. They just don't have enough money to pay them both and Joe Burrow. But Nick, let me ask you: do you like the Justin Jefferson signing? Do you like the 140? I mean, these are massive numbers we've never seen for anyone but a QB at this point.
I mean, I don't hate it. Like we said at the beginning, he's well deserving. He's been one of the best receivers in the game for like the last 4 years. Arguably the best over the last 4 years. And obviously that's who they're going to build their offense around. That's who they want to please. And rightly so, because like we said, he's been the best. It makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me because he is their true number 1. He is a true number 1 receiver. It just comes down to quarterback play. He's been with Kirk Cousins for the last couple of years. Sam Darnold in there is going to kind of, I don't know how Sam Darnold's going to do. This will be a true test of his actual talent. He was a Jet for a little bit, and then everyone said he needed to get a fair shot somewhere else. And then he went to Carolina, which was not an upgrade at all. And then he sat the bench in San Francisco, but now he's getting handed the keys again. But it's with the Minnesota Vikings, and he has an actual decent receiving core.
I think this is his Sam Darnold's best situation he's ever been in the league. It's his team as of right now. He's got a great offensive head coach, and he's got one of the greatest skill position groups in T.J. Hawkinson, Addison, Justin Jefferson. Just all these guys. I think they're going to be. I mean, he's going to determine the success of the Vikings this year because the team around him is pretty great, and they're in a tough division though against Detroit, Green Bay. Obviously not Chicago. Neither one of us are high on Chicago this year, even though the rest of the world is for some reason. But it's going to be between. It's going to be basically who can knock off Detroit. But I don't know if anyone can do that this year because Detroit's bringing back the same team, and they're hungry. Dan Campbell's hungry, so. But we'll see. I mean, I agree. I think signing Jettas was the right move. I mean, they're not paying a quarterback right now, so the money should go to the guy that's been kind of keeping them alive, and that was Justin Jefferson. Obviously, before we end the show, I think it'll be good to bring up that the Falcons got severely punished for
their cheaters.
Yeah. This is just like, I guess they were negotiating with Kirk Cousins and a couple other players like Darnell Mooney when they weren't supposed to be before free agency had opened, I think is what it was. And they were docked a draft pick, 5th-round draft pick, and then the GM was fined $50,000 of his own money, which has got to hurt.
Chump change.
I don't know. Also, the GM's probably going to get fired.
Essentially, what you're hearing is they suffered pretty much no consequences. That's what I heard when I saw all that. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, nothing happens. Cool.
The team itself got docked like 500 grand, which is definitely not much in terms of the franchise. Like, I mean, the business itself makes a lot of money as an NFL franchise, so it's kind of like a little slap on the wrist. Hey, don't do that again.
Hey, don't do that again, but, whatever. They just had to make it look like they were punishing them.
The Falcons have been laughable since they signed a guy for over $100 million to be quarterback and then went and drafted one with the 8th overall pick, who's almost the same age as Kirk Cousins, to be honest with you.
Not the smartest people out there.
No, and they're showing it. They're showing it. And, even though they're in an awful division, I'm not sure they're going to win it. So,
you know what they say: if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But I don't know.
They were cheating and trying. So.
They were definitely trying, huh?
But they got caught. It must be awful to be a Falcons fan.
It really.
You blow the
pits, the literal pits.
I mean, the last good thing that happened to you was making it to the Super Bowl, and then you became a historic laughing stock, blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl.
It's laughable.
That's just sad. It is.
It's laughable.
It is. I can't imagine being a Falcons fan.
I could not either. So, here's like to end our shows on Under Review. I brought you a quote from the Peyton Manning. Pressure is something you feel when you don't know what you're doing. And that's the truth.
That is the truth. Take that with you this week. Thank you for listening. We're excited to be in Dallas, and we'll see you next week like we always do. Another episode, Under Review.